You have knee pain and have been diagnosed with arthritis, so I want to encourage you. Most of the time, you can do something by yourself to alleviate these pains, because from everything we know, the pains are mainly caused by excessive tension in the muscles and fascia. There are now so many studies that show the following. Stretching and strengthening can improve pain and mobility in the knee so much that surgery is no longer necessary in many cases. Ina and I will show you some exercises to help you. Ina will do them and I will explain to you what we are doing. When experiencing pain and arthritis in the knee, two stretches are especially important. One is for the front side of the legs and the other is for the back side of the legs. And we start with something very simple. You simply kneel down and now carefully go down and try to sit on your heels. Lean on for support. Support yourself on the ground if you prefer and go down as far as you can. It would be best if you really land on your heel. I always say, if you can't sit easily and comfortably on your heels for 2 minutes, then you already have a problem in your knee, which is due to the muscles in the front being too tight and too short. So this is the first exercise. You do this on both sides at the same time. If you have a problem on one of your knees, then the knee will be the limit. So maybe you have to stop here, then you would put a pillow underneath. Stay a little higher, please. Imagine Ina now puts a pillow underneath and can then sit down on the pillow. So always place something underneath that adjusts the distance between heels and buttocks so that you feel a clear, just bearable stretch here at the front. But you can also do the same stretch for one leg. To do this, please sit down, and now, when it comes to the left knee, place your left leg next to you and try to straighten your foot completely. And then, when you already feel the stretch at this distance, you would stay like that and always continue moving your buttocks towards your heel. Ina, show that please. Exactly, and each intermediate position is your own personal stretching position. And when you reach the heel, then it gets even more interesting, because then another muscle comes into play, which relieves the knee, which was not there before. One must gradually work towards being painless. And then you pull in your navel, and the more you move your pelvis down and back with the trunk. So the pelvis must practically tilt here. And then you notice when you take the pelvis with you, then you have a very, very strong pull on the thigh here, and that really relieves your knee, in our experience, massively. And please, as always, do these exercises at least 2 minutes to 2.5 minutes and increase the stretching during this time. But now it's about strength training. And the strength training, no matter what position you are in, consists of trying to straighten your left leg. Ina, try to stretch, tighten it properly, and then you will notice exactly where you feel the stretching, here at the front of the thigh. There you will now feel the strength you need for the extension, right in this area. But there is another variation, which is easier to target for a beginner who has not done such exercises often, but is a bit more complex. You will see soon. To do this, simply lie on your stomach, like Ina does, and then try to bend your right knee as far as possible, bringing your foot towards your buttocks. Pull as far as you can, Ina, as far as you can. Ina is quite well stretched, because if Ina reaches back now, please do that, Ina, then she can reach her foot. And then the exercise consists of pulling the foot closer to the buttocks, and then you have the same stretch. The difference is we first put the pelvis in the correct position, and then we bend the knee. During the previous exercise, the knee was first bent, and then the pelvis moved into the correct position, which is more difficult. This is easier, but a bit more complex, and most of the time it fails because if you have a real problem in your knee, you can't grab your foot. You can usually only grab it when you bend your hip and lift your groin a bit. Most people do it like that. They lift their hip and then move their knee out a little sideways. But that is problematic because if you want to go back, it will be much harder for you to get your groin back on the ground. Ina is fine because she is well stretched. To avoid all these difficulties, you need something that helps you extend your arm. We have our stretching strap, but you can also use a belt or you can use a towel while you grab it with both hands. In any case, it is about the fact that most people who are already a bit older, but also young people who have not stretched, usually only come this far. And then it is advisable, if you have a belt or this tool, that you practically pull the foot forward with your hand, but first you must make sure your hip is down. This is very important because when you go into flexion of the hip, then you have this one muscle that has so much to do with your knee pain and with the arthritis, which you then do not include in the stretch. So first go down with your groin, then crawl forward with your fingers and go deeper into the stretch, and you can also incorporate our strength training here again. You simply stretch your leg there and the loop holds it in place. If you have been doing this for a few weeks, it will probably even be possible for you to grab your foot with your hand. But there is an even more efficient way to do this. Go back again and raise your knee slightly. Whether you use the knee hero or place books underneath or a thick pillow, a firm cushion or anything else, it doesn't really matter, but the knee should be higher. If the knee is higher, it will be harder for you to bring the groin to the floor. Therefore, only raise your knee as high as you are still able to touch the ground with your groin. As far as comprehensible, it's not quite easy, but I hope you have been following along so far. Also, knees as high as possible, but the hip must really be able to touch the ground, be able to lay on it properly. And then you notice when you go back into stretching and slowly crawl forward with your hand, you will notice that it pulls much more. And we love this because what can be noticed here is a greater, more intense stretching, which in our experience frees your knee much more. And now we are talking about the back of the leg and knee. Ina, please stretch your right leg. Place the foot vertically and pull the foot back as far as possible. Now there is the possibility, if you can't reach your feet, Ina, come on, show me. If you can reach them, then grab the forefoot, pull first, stay like that, pull the forefoot back as far as possible. Then you feel the stretching in the calf up to just below the knee joint. If you additionally pull forward your trunk, which should be as straight as possible, then this really annoying feeling on the back of the knee is added in the popliteal fossa. But as bad as it feels, it is extremely valuable in our experience for the liberation of your knee. Because everything that has been too short and tangled gets longer during the stretching. So you go forward. First pull your foot back as far as you can, and then go forward with your torso. You may feel tension in the entire back of the leg. And the most tension you have is in the knee, the greatest stretching pain. Hold it in a way that is just barely tolerable. And even there you can incorporate your strength training within these 2 to 2.5 minutes by simply doing the following. If you can't get all three right at the same time, then you can train one after the other. The first counterforce, the first force you apply, is that your forefoot, wants to move forward. You hold it tight, but you tense up as if it wanted to move forward. The second contraction, you press your knee into the ground as if you wanted to bend your leg. And the third, you want to go back with your back. All three are most efficient, but don't worry. Even if you only do 1 or 2 at first, you will already experience significantly greater stretching and relaxation effects. If you cannot reach your foot, which will be the case in most instances, you can use your other leg for assistance by bending the knee. And now you simply hold on to the other leg, Place your foot as far forward as feels good for you in order to be able to pull yourself forward. Of course, you can't pull your foot back now. This small part of the stretch would be lost, but the extended leg still ensures that if you bring the trunk forward. Try it, then it still pulls into the popliteal fossa, so you can also stretch like this, just a bit less efficient, but still in a way that you will have a good result. Now I want to point out one more detail to you. Go to the knee, press your knee all the way through, then you will notice Ina's heel is raised, and it is good to support the heel. You can also use a book or any cushion instead of this aid, as long as it compensates for the height difference. The important thing is your knee back. Your popliteal fossa is up and your heel is down, and then you can do the counter pressure against the ground much more efficiently. And if you want to do the third exercise now, it's best to use the stretching strap or a towel or a belt, something that extends your arms again. You already know this from the exercises for the front of the leg. You practically put it on, now reach for the loop, which makes your arms longer. You can reach a little further forward, always making sure that the arms are not excessively bent, because with bent arms you have less strength. When they are stretched, you have much more strength, then you can pull yourself, then you would first pull your foot, first your forefoot backwards, and then come forward with the trunk. And then you notice how the entire back of the leg is once again heavily engaged in the stretch. Since in most people, probably also in you, the calves are drastically shortened by sitting, let's add this exercise now. You may feel to what extent this exercise helps you greatly. And now, walk towards the wall, turn around, place the foot of your affected knee so far back that when you have straightened the knee, you already feel a pull here in the calf, and then bend your front knee more and more. And you bring this stretch here to the maximum, which you can still tolerate well. Important, you must not lift the heel off the ground. It must remain on the ground the whole time. And I just noticed the carpet is moving. So what do we learn from this? Stay exactly like that, but move your foot forward, remove the carpet, and now the shoe probably sticks better to the floor because it must not slip. So if you notice anything like this, oh, I'm slipping away, then go somewhere else, put on shoes, take off shoes, whatever. You must not slip during the exercise. And then you increase the stretching for another 2 minutes, and strengthening consists in pressing your forefoot against the ground. Yes, pressing with the forefoot against the ground, then relaxing again, moving further into the stretch, and so on. 2 to 2.5 minutes, so that you can still bear it well. The principle is always the same. And now I will show you how you can make the last exercise much more efficient. There you can either use such a tool, or you simply lay books down so that Ina go on it, so that your forefoot is brought up so far that even if you just stand on it loosely, the stretching is noticeable here. And if you now also move a little further forward, then you are able to do so because the center of gravity is above this aid, so that you can exert much more force into the stretch. That means you lean against the wall, basically do the same as before, only the foot is much further forward and you have a much greater pre-stretch due to the angle that results from something being underneath. And now, if you were to press against the ground with the forefoot to strengthen, it is important in the exercise that the knees are fully extended, or the knee is fully extended. Our tip, try out all these variations now, and then it quickly becomes clear which exercises are more or less suitable for you, then do them daily. 6 days a week, pay attention to the time, 2 to 2.5 minutes per stretch, resist against it, do your strength training as I have shown. Yes, and then I would be very surprised if you don't feel completely different. And if you now feel like doing more exercises for the knee, then here is a knee routine for you. Otherwise, we say goodbye. Goodbye,